The first metaphor, the philosopher. This is the source from where perception begins. You see, absolutely no one is born into this world knowing how to think or live. Think about it. We were all born empty vessels and blank slates. I didn't come out of my mother's womb with a blueprint in my hand or a program in my mind that gave clear direction on what I was to do with the life I had been given, or how to navigate the many industries or complexities that form this life. I wasn't born knowing anything about money, finance, leadership, cultivating or managing friendships. I wasn't born knowing anything about sex, advancement in the workplace, faith, or education. You, like me, were born with a clear and open mind. From that perspective, you begin to build walls and borders around your open mind. These borders you build to help your mind make sense of the world are actually perceptions and perspectives you have picked up from some source. What you call intelligence, or what your mind perceives to be a rational thought, is a regurgitation from the philosophies that collectively give it frame. You are drawing your intelligence and its nuance from a source. That source is what I call the philosopher and his philosophy. The obvious question then becomes, do you know who wrote the blueprint you have constructed your life after? Where did your mindset and perspectives come from? Whose or what ideas help you make sense of your life? The obligation of a philosopher to his audience is to create systems, perspectives, and ideas they can use to guide the course of their lives. History is adorned with many great leaders, teachers, and thinkers who have done just that. Whether you're aware of it or not, hidden in plain sight is this truth. Philosophers give you the interpretations and conclusions you make about life. They incite you to action. They create the reality you call the life I lived, and they shape the way your mind thinks. Toddlers have a natural curiosity about them, largely because they do not understand the world in which they find themselves. Over time, curiosity fades when they begin to get answers. The answers we give to these kids are philosophies meant to give their minds a box to think inside of. However, when you frame a mind and give it interpretations, an unexpected consequence happens. The mind becomes closed off and becomes unable to see or understand other perspectives that aren't within its frame. And it is from these philosophies, these nuanced narratives, the common wisdom that shape your thinking, the tribal knowledge and the shit you just know to be true is born. The individual philosophies or perceptions that you subscribe to then become the reference you rely on and use to make sense of your life's struggles, adversities, and triumphs. Much like a child would exasperatingly nag a parent to produce probable answers to incomprehensible questions, philosophers too are put to task to form the edges and create the boxes people desperately need to define their confusing existence and make sense of the things in life that just make no sense. In August Wilson's play-turned-film, Fences, the character Troy reminisces the trauma he endured at a young age. According to his account, he was forced to leave his father's home at age 14. Suddenly, the world got big, and it was a long time before I could cut it down to where I could handle it. So to stop from metaphorically choking on life, we turn to philosophers and their interpretations of life to cut life down into bite-sized pieces. This is what the great thinkers Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, Niccolo Machiavelli, Ayn Rand, Albert Camus, Jean-Paul Sartre, Napoleon Hill, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and so on, this is what they've done for us throughout history. From mathematics, health, meaning, science, business, and money, all the way down to sociology, religion, and politics, these teachers are the allegorical doctors whose rational and thought-out systems provide context to our lives. Their books serve as blueprints for the way you should think, and they also give your life its structure and its purpose. In some sense, you may say that these teachers influence and prescribe human action with their teachings. They create the box you and I choose to think inside of. The perceptions they create become the reality of our lives. However, contradictions between philosophers in the same category can often leave you conflicted. Consequently, you will almost always subscribe to an interpretation or ideology that is influenced by your nature or nurture. For example, in finance, there are many different gurus who claim to have the secret to building financial wealth. Some teachers promote a doctrine that suggests you leverage debt in real estate to create wealth, teaching that great risks bring great rewards. This is the 10x philosophy of Grant Cardone. One argues that debt is both dangerous and foolhardy. He promotes a slow and steady method to earn, save, and invest over time. This is Dave Ramsey and his 7 baby steps to financial peace. A third teaches a system to build passive income through his rich dad, poor dad philosophy of cash flow. This is Robert Kiyosaki's 4-quadrant philosophy. And since God himself didn't give you the blueprint for financial literacy when you were born, you have no choice but to model your financial actions according to a model created by one of these philosophers. The system you choose will probably be determined by the influences of your experiences as a developing child. In nutrition, some experts claim that the quality of the food matters more than the calories. This is the philosophy of clean eating. Others ban certain things, claiming that they are evil bringers of weight gain and disease. No dairy or meat, proclaim the vegans. No carbs or sugar, say the followers of the keto diet. No processed foods, say the paleo. Others say you can eat whatever you want as long as it's in moderation and fits your macronutrients. This is called the if it fits your macros method of dieting. Some will even say it's about when you eat. This is the intermittent fasting, nutrient timing concept. And in religion, many ideas and teachings exist about God and how to find Him. Many more perceptions to create your lived experience yet exist. In politics, rational thinking is called conservative, liberal, progressive, Democrat, or Republican. In religion, rational thinking is called Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. On the value of life, it's called Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. The context in which you were born can also serve as the philosophy through which you make interpretations to your life. Being born in the ghetto is bound to shape your thinking differently than if you were born in Beverly Hills. Life lived can be created by the context the life is in. This will then make the context the philosopher. It doesn't always have to be a person who creates the system you live by. It can be your environment. All these ways of thinking and ideologies have a few things in common. They put life in perspective, create its perceptions, and most importantly, they provide you relief or pain to your existence. They give our lives context, purpose, and become the source we draw wisdom and knowledge from. These ideas give a man what to do with his life and help him daily to live it. These perceptions create what we call reality, or the lives we live. I hope you see the problem. Perception is the creator of your current life. And if you follow any one belief or way of thinking absolutely, there is a missed opportunity to have lived a different life in the perspective not followed. You would need to accept the positive or negative consequences of your points of view and the costs that come from not following any other way of thinking. Here's an allegory that I will share to help make this point. It's from the fantasy story A Monster's Call by Patrick Ness. There's a grumpy, money-driven apothecary who follows the old beliefs and methods of medicine and healing absolutely. There's a yew tree in the churchyard, and the apothecary begs the town priest to let him harvest it for medicine. The priest doesn't like the foul-tempered man or his pagan beliefs, so he refuses the apothecary his request. The priest doesn't stop there though. From his church pulpit, he actively condemns the apothecary and any who seek his aid. Consequently, the pharmacist becomes less popular and his business suffers because the people of the town who have been influenced by the perspective of the priest no longer want to use his services. When a sickness sweeps the land, many people die because they are without proper medicine and care. The priest's own 2 daughters become ill. After all the resources and prayers fail, the priest begins to have a paradigm shift. His daughters becoming terminally sick was the moment his perspective changed. In desperation, he turns to the apothecary he condemned. Please, save my daughters. The apothecary asked, why should I help the man who ruined my life and my business? You denied me access to the medicine of the yew tree, yet now you want me to save your daughters after your perspective has killed half the town. The priest has no defense, but desperate to save his daughters, he makes the pharmacist a bargain. Save my girls, and I will give you the yew tree, as well as my congregation to be your patients. You can save them all, he said. Knowing how the priest had vehemently preached against this practice, the apothecary asked him, are you really able to revoke the beliefs and perspectives you have held unbendingly, even at great cost to me and the people of this town, just so your daughters can be healed? The priest answered, yes. The apothecary replies, it is for that reason that I will not help you. So the priest's daughters die. Just as the perception of the priest brought ruin to the life of the apothecary, he too has now suffered from the reality created by his rigid perspective, and the apothecary made sure he did not escape this well-deserved punishment. The allegory of the apothecary shows the subtle duplicity that is perception. Your beliefs give your life meaning and purpose, yet you will not recognize how those same convictions can bring great hardship to your life and the lives of others who follow you. So if I were to name the most cruel, domineering, destructive, unfair, and oppressive evil in the world today, it would be perception. Your point of view is an existential threat to you and to others. To make this point again without using a parable, I will make it personal and insert myself in one of the sectors of life. You see, I subscribe to the no debt, slow and steady interpretation to financial prosperity. This is Dave Ramsey's philosophy. It is my perception. My financial literacy is influenced heavily by Dave's perspective and his interpretation of money management. In essence, Dave is the philosopher whose philosophy puts the finance aspect of life in perspective for me, and his ideas essentially create my life as I live it. Existence is pain, and money is a big contributor to that pain. As such, Dave Ramsey's system on money management puts this important aspect of life in frame for me. However, I am omniscient and know what Dave's system could cost me. When it comes to finance, I too am limited to the pros and cons of Dave's perception. As such, I have to be fully aware of the cost of shutting down the idea of building wealth through debt and accept the reality that it may create for me. Essentially, my life will be stable, but may not be as adventurous as Grant Cardone's. It will have quality, but maybe not luxury. A happy ending, but maybe not a fairy tale ending. That is the price I could pay for living by Dave's principles. Living by Dave's principles comes with a cost that I am unable to quantify because I cannot see it. With this one example from financial philosophy, the idea can be applied to any philosophy that creates the life you live. Religion, business, politics, spirituality, race, gender, career specialization, sexual orientation, and social status. At some point, you too will have to tally the costs you pay for the perspectives that give your life its context. To lead the best life possible, a man must remain ever aware of perception. As such, he must learn multiple philosophies and points of view to navigate his existence. This is the way of the omniscient man. This is what it means to be the verb. And while a point of view may give life context, it is not free and comes with a cost. Yet too many people subscribe to one defined way of thinking without first counting the total cost of their lives, such as the FD price for having a one-track mind. Philosophy was meant to be a verb, a process of constantly questioning absolutes. Now philosophy is being used to prove ideas to be absolute. People don't seek new perspectives anymore to expand their understanding and points of views. They just accept a singular way of thinking and call it truth. Like wind-up toys, we have become programmed and set into motion. Like I've said, perception is a fucking bitch, man.